Good afternoon. Here we are at the 2019 AIPP Epson New South Wales ACT Professional Property Awards, about to start the commercial category. I'll just say proudly sponsored by Aon Insurance Company, and I'm a subscriber to Aon, and they're very, very good, so they support the AIPP, so let's get out there and support them as well. My name is David Patterson, and I'll be your panel chair for this session, and I'd like to introduce to you Greg Farmer, who's going to be my scribe and assistant for the afternoon. And I will also introduce our judges. We have Robin Campbell from Victoria, David Oliver, New South Wales, Paul Holland from, will we say New Zealand, Victoria, Tasmania? Where do you abode? Take a pick, okay. Well, let's say the journeyman. And we have Laurie, and I'll go Chahini. Say it for us. Chicky. Of course, sir. And then Matthew Vasilescu. Okay, but we also have in judges in waiting, we have Kevin Chamberlain, we have Gavin Jowlett. Has that been spelled properly? But anyway, right. That's how it's spelled. Jowett, yep. Bruce Pottinger. And, just got to get this right, Kirsten Woodford. Excellent. I think I got everybody there. Okay. First thing we're going to do is actually just read you out the preamble for the commercial category. So, the commercial category is intended for images that could be commissioned by a business or for marketing, advertising, or editorial use. This includes, but not limited to, advertising, aerial, architecture, corporate, food, industrial, fashion and sports photography. Images will have generally been created with a specific brief, often under the supervision of an agency or client representative. The subject matter isn't the concern, but rather the purpose for which the photography was created. Entries will be judged with a broad view in the context of a commercial photograph. The commercial category will be judged in 3 sections: commissioned, self-commissioned, and sport. The category is judged in 3 sections to assist the judges in their assessment. However, there is only the one award. Category rules and requirements. Entries may include non-photographic elements such as text on a page, if it was used as part of the brief, as long as the image submitted remains substantially photographic in origin. Polytich, diptychs and triptychs are permitted. Entrants must provide a caption of up to 50 words to assist the judges in assessing the image in context. So I'll be reading those out for you. Caption information should be limited to either the intended, possible or actual purpose of use and may include other details of the commission. Does that make sense? I might read that out again. Caption information should be limited to either the intended, possible or actual purpose for use and may include other details of the commission. The winner of the category will receive the core category trophy and the title relevant to the nature of the work entered, if required. For example, the 2019 AIPP Sports Photographer of the Year can be requested if the winning submission contains 4 sports images. Any questions? Very good. Okay. If you just bear with me for one moment while I enter our judges in, and then we'll get underway. Okay, judges, are we ready to rock and roll? Eyes forward, and the first section will be sport. I believe, is that correct, our print handlers? I'm sure. Excellent. Okay, thank you. Let's have our first print, please. And the caption reads, Wedge of Light. Anastasia Seravastova of Latvia at quarter-final round match on day 4 of Brisbane International Open Tennis Championship at Pat Rafter Arena, Brisbane, Australia on the 3rd of January 2019. And we have a score of 84, silver award. First cab off the rank, and we had 82, 82, 82, 86 and 87. Fantastic. Okay, let's have a comment, please. Paul, thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to applaud the photographer for the anticipation in terms of their timing, where to sit, the angle to shoot from. I mean, that shot was only possible probably in a section of minutes. I love the alliteration of the movement and the athleticism by all the marks on the ground, the alliteration of the shadows, both by the ball and the subject, the colour complement and the placement, I guess, commercially of exactly where it is would probably work very well in a commercial capacity to advertise that area as well.
Yes, well, they've all agreed and we're 2 in the silver distinction, so that's very good. Thank you. Next print, please. And our caption, Franco Mordelli in focus. Exiting the corner while Alex Rins in the background prepares for corner entry. This was taken during the MotoGP race at Cusutio del Jerez, Spain. It is intended for editorial use in magazines. Let's have some scores there, judges. And the print scores 82, a silver award. Matthew, you're on 82. A quick comment, please.
The entire composition of the image is captured really well. To see that coming through such probably a really tight, long lens, to capture that sharply in the middle of that while you've got a nice out of focus subject to give you some depth to the whole image. Just the entire thing's just captured perfectly, really.
Great, thank you. Let's have the next print, please. And our caption, Catch. Elena Svitolina of Ukraine is in the shade while catching the tennis ball at the 2019 Australian Open Tennis Championship during Day 6 match on the 19th of January 2019 at the Melbourne Park Tennis Centre, Melbourne, Australia. And the print scores 79. Thank you, Robin. Challenge on 84, if you please.
I'm in the silver range by simply the idea of bringing an art form and a very beautiful silhouette style aesthetic to what would ordinarily be a very plain shot is very, very clever and creative. When you're looking through sport magazines, just having something that's just that little bit different that stands out, I think is really quite extraordinary. And the level of depth between the light hitting the ball, the silhouette, and then the text in the background's really interesting. Love the vignetting as well that brings you right into her and that moment, the line that dissects it. So it's got your graphic components, you've got your humanity, but it's visually really interesting. So that's why I'm in the silver range.
Thank you, Robin. And Laurie.
Yeah, and I'm really enjoying all of those things as well. But the thing that sort of held me back from it going into award is that I couldn't see how it illustrated the sport, because the sport itself is quite athletic and she's just casually standing there waiting to catch a ball. And also that the moment that ball, perhaps if it fell into the shot a little bit further down so it wasn't so connected to the white line, that's what held me back.
Okay, look, I might quickly go to Matt. He's also in the silver range, just to give the other judges something to consider.
Probably the only thing that held me back from going higher into the silver range, the loss of that racket at the bottom of the frame, would have just finished the bottom of the frame off nicely. And though we can see it's in Melbourne, to just have that E in there as well. I mean, the balance of everything else in there is perfect. I'm not bothered by the ball being up that high in the frame, because if it's any further down, the balance of it is maybe a bit off. It's got a nice diagonal right from that top left corner through to the bottom, and now, well, to Melbourne words down to the bottom right.
Okay, Robin, your right of reply.
Yeah, this is a perfect example of an editorial piece in a documentary field. So it's not saying that she's about to, do a slam. It's about the story and the journey along the way. So that's what I'm rewarding in the silver range.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much. Let's rescore. Print scores 81, silver award. Next print, please. And our caption, The Doctor, 40-year-old Valentino Rossi, painting lines with his elbow and knee. Lap after lap, the accuracy of the rider can be seen with the marks. Taken during the MotoGP in Jerez, it is intended for editorial use in magazines. And we have a score of 81, silver award. Matthew, are you going to challenge?
I will challenge, and I'll challenge because, yes, though it might feel like it's mundane, we're not seeing the rider. Anyone who watches MotoGP and has for anything more than a decade will know that the Doctor, Valentino, is the master. And to see where he is on that track, and for the photographer to stand there and watch and see Valentino going around and around and making those marks, and knowing that he's going to stand there and wait for him to hit it, maybe the 10th, maybe the 20th lap, warming up or practicing. And the other part of it as well, for anyone who has been to motorsport and anyone who has watched motorsport, capturing something disappearing from you is 10 times harder than capturing something coming towards you. To capture something like that, so sharp, to read Doctor on it, is really worth rewarding.
Hit the apex. David, would you like to comment?
Yeah, I haven't been lucky enough to witness seeing this, but I've obviously followed some TV and looked at lots of pictures, but it's just the element of the composition. I'd love to have seen this picture maybe 2 or 3 frames prior to that one, a little bit more central or in the foreground maybe, whereas he's sort of going up into that top left-hand corner, heading towards that green line. But I'm pretty close on silver, and I can be converted.
Okay, we'll have a quick word from Paul on 82.
Yeah, I really felt the deliberateness of that is the exploration of the line, the evidence of what's been left behind of his mastery. To hold that line for that length of time through that curve, almost to the millimetre, is evidenced because he's further down into the frame. And I feel like that's why I'm in the award range.
Okay, Matthew, you have right of reply.
Well, I'll agree with Paul on that one. You know, I think if you moved the subject any further into the centre of the frame and brought it down into there, we would lose the story of where he travelled from. And time again, lap after lap, if you put the rider on top of that, you'd lose those marks, you'd lose that story, you'd lose the lead into where he's sitting in that nice top left. You know, if you're dissecting that in the thirds, he's sitting perfectly in a really strong position in that top third of that frame as he's disappearing out of shot.
Okay, judges, please rescore. Currently, the print is on 81. And we have a score of 84, a very solid silver. Okay, next print, please. And the caption, muscles all tensed up. Rafael Nadal of Spain hits a forehand at the 2019 Australian Open Tennis Championship Day 7 match at Melbourne Park Tennis Centre, Melbourne, Australia, 20th of January 2019. What you're going to say. Okay, we have a score of 83, silver award. And a comment, please. No, thank you, Laurie.
Yeah, it's a very strong image of the particular sportsman. We can see everything about him. The way the photographers captured his aggression and the emotion that he's about to feel, you can feel that it's pretty intense. So well done to the photographer.
Great, thank you. Next print, please. The shadows of his pit lane garage onto his race bike. This was taken during a test day in Circuito del Jerez, Spain, and is intended for magazine and product advertising. And the print score is 82, a silver award. And a comment? Thank you, Matthew.
It's well constructed. I think I just would like to see a bit more darkness. If he's supposed to be appearing from the shadows, there's a lot of brightness, and Valentino is very bright. Obviously, you know, he's in fluoro yellow. That glove on the left is just a little bit blown out. It's a little bit too bright. It's not balanced quite as well. And there's just a whole lot going on there, and there's not a lot of darkness. There's just too much bright.
Thank you, Matthew. Let's have the next print, please. And our caption, Let It Flow. Rafael Nadal of Spain at the 2019 Australian Open Tennis Championship during Day 1, Round 1 match on the 14th of January 2019 at the Melbourne Park Tennis Centre, Melbourne, Australia. And the print scores by majority 79. So no award there, but at APA it would have a second bite of the cherry when for review. But let's have a quick comment anyway. Paul, you're on 78.
Yeah, there's some wonderful details that speak to the characterisation of the man. He's one of the most highly sweating sportsmen of the world, and he's not far away from a towel. And if you look at his left hand, it's covered in bandages, which speaks to the intensity with which he plays and what he carries. His muscularity is present. I feel like maybe the dominance of the bright and the whites on the towel is probably overpowering sort of his characterisation, and there's a bit of a murkiness in the shadows there and the resolve. But I'm enjoying the way he sort of disappears out of the frame in the bottom and he floats a little bit in the frame, makes it more of a graphic feature.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much. Let's have the next print, please. And the title, Australian Remy Gardner shooting flames out of his exhaust and just kissing the rear tyre. Photo was taken during a World Championship race at Circo del Jerez, Spain, and is intended for editorial use in magazines. And the print score is 79. Very consistent scoring there. Or David's in the silver range. Who would like to comment? Thank you, Robin.
Yeah, certainly more detail in the highlight areas would probably add to the overall balance. And it's interesting the perspective on this image. You really want to be journeying up to the top right and seeing what's ahead as opposed to what is coming behind. So perhaps a slight perspective shift.
Terrific, thank you. Okay, now I'm just accepting that score and we're going to our next set, which will be commercial. One moment, I'm just going to check which one this is. Okay, we're back. What we might also do is just swap our judges around just a little bit. I might give you a quick break and welcome in Kevin, pop on down. Kevin Chamberlain, welcome to the panel here. Let me just do my judges change here. Okay, I think we're ready to go. So this will be the commissioned section of the commercial category. And we thank Aon as for their sponsorship. Right, let's have our first print, please. And the caption is, commissioned by ad agency, The Sponge Agency, for their website and promotional material. The brief was to illustrate the creative process. The lava, brackets, from a lava lamp, end of brackets, represents the formation of creative ideas. Orange is the agency's brand colour. And we have a score of 79. So no award, but certainly one of these badges. Who would like to comment? Thank you, Mr. Oliver.
Just that teardrop on his throat, neck area made it for me. It's just so strong. It was just so much of such a pity. There were so many other, what would you call them, balls, I guess, that are on his face. So just needed that one.
Great, thank you. Next print, please. And our caption. Kayuki, the very sensitive, secretive flower and willow world of the Japanese geisha. Each geisha is like a flower, beautiful in their own way, and like a willow tree, gracious, flexible, and strong. And the print score is 79. Majority 79. And a comment, please. Kevin, would you like to be thrown in?
Well, I saw the strength mentioned in the face and the pose, and the lovely expression looking out the window, and the delicacy is there as well. I thought it was very well printed, an excellent capture, so I thought it was in the silver range, but well done to the photographer.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Okay, next print, please. And our caption, a private hospital spiral car park. Creative brief commissioned by the Australian Construction Review on behalf of the builder, Hansen Yukin. And we have a score of 83, a silver award. And we have no challenges, so we're going to accept that score. 83, Laurie, you're on 83.
This is a beautiful example of architecture, and I'm sure the commissioned person, the person who was taking the photograph, understood the brief quite beautifully in the fact that they made it quite artistic and bringing in that green life, just blending in architecture with nature. So well done to the photographer.
Thank you. Next print, please. The caption, part of a set of completion images for builder. Print scores 79. So let's have a comment from Kevin. You're on 78.
Well, it's a beautiful professional capture. I think the photographer's done a lot right with that. fact, there's not a lot wrong. I'd only suggest maybe it's captured a little too late in the evening, and the intensity of the colour in the sky maybe could be toned down a touch.
Thank you. Next print, please. In our caption, The Naughty Bunny. This image was part of a 6-image series. Our bunny becomes more provocative as each image is revealed. The hand gesture to the mask and closing her eyes is shown to imply movement as if she is about to reveal her true self. And our score is 81, a silver award. Do we have a challenge?
Yes.
We do. Kevin on 88. Thank you, Kevin.
I'll challenge if for only to be able to listen to what other people would say about this, but I really enjoy this image. I can see that provocative nature. I like the colour palette. I'm enjoying the tension between the texture in the back wall and the smoothness of the skin, which is just intriguing me, and I feel it deserves to be a silver award.
And Laurie on 77.
Yeah, look, I agree with all of those things, and the only thing is I just want to know what the clock is there for. Why am I drawn into that clock? What's the clock telling me? If someone can explain that to me, that would be helpful. Other than the time, yeah, thanks.
Okay, would any other judge like to comment? Thank you, Robin on 78.
Yeah, there's certainly elements in there that bring it up to the silver award standard. I think what held me just below that is every time you put an element in an image, it needs to have a purpose. And for an image which is so heavily constructed and designed, I'm left thinking, what is the purpose of this oversized desk drawer that falls out of focus as it comes towards us? It's quite distracting in the foreground. It's such a large element within the image. There's some beautiful things happening with her and her shape and so forth. So I'm certainly listening to the debate, but I just find there's so many distracting elements that your eye's taken away from the point, which is the tension between her revealing her mask.
Okay, well, I might go to Paul then, just to give a bit more information for the judges.
Yeah, I feel like that piece of furniture is a reference to a sense of time. Both the colour palette and a lot of the features pull us back, I think, quite a few decades. I enjoyed the symbolism of a Playboy bunny. I think the clock actually ties in a little bit to the fact that this is trying to present something potentially back in time. I like the way the shape of her legs sort of mirrors the curve of the furniture just below and behind her, and that mirroring through the shadowing adds a bit of depth and texture. And I also enjoy the way the texture on the right-hand side is repeated through the reflections in the furniture, just to tie it in nicely.
Okay, and in the title it does say the image was part of a 6-image series, so maybe we could assume that the clock will move on in time with each 6 images. Just an assumption. Anyway, back to you, Kevin, for your right of reply.
But I don't find those elements distracting at all. I think they add to the story. Particularly the timber furniture in the foreground did not distract me. It adds to it. I like the soft colour of it. I'm still happy to stick with thinking it's a silver distinction. I urge you to come up.
Okay, judges, let's rescore. Currently, Princess sits on an 81. And now 83, very solid silver. Let's go to the next print, please. Caption. The SMIEC required a standout competition image with logo space to promote their 2019 event. A scenic is organised by the Snowy Mountains Grammar School. Achieving a clean background with only the team coach looking on while inspired. This image was taken during the 2018 competition and featured heavily throughout their 2019 marketing. The print score is 79. So let's have a comment from, well, Paul, you're on 78? Or Laurie? Or David?
The picture does fulfil the brief. It's not I don't find it really exciting because the background is dominating the tree on the right-hand side and the left-hand side. To have space between, I think, would have then led you straight to the jockey and the rider and the horse. But instead it's sort of quite busy.
Okay, thank you. Next print, please. Caption. Opal, the Husky, commissioned by Paul Macmillan to be featured in a book about rescue dogs. And we have a score of 79. We have to accept that score. Kevin, you're on 79. Would you like to comment?
Perfect. Fulfills the brief perfectly. It's beautifully captured. It's a very professional image. I think it just lacks something extra to take it into the award category.
Thank you. And we might do another judge change. David, I might give you a bit of a break there and invite Bruce Pottinger to our judging panel. So watch out, you guys. And we accept that last score. And we'll have the next print, please. And the caption reads, commissioned to showcase the curved wall of an aero building in detail. The builders engineered a specific mould of curved concrete walls. Photographed for the builder, GWH, and the Australian Construction Review. Two numbers and enter. Yes, that works better. Two numbers, not three. Unless it's 100. The score of 77. And our judges go from 76 to 77, 77, 78, 78. Who'd like to have a chat? Bruce, will we throw you in the deep end?
I think the photographer has done a good job on the brief that he had. I think the tonality of the image is really good for the concrete panels. That's where I see it, a good professional image. Well done.
Okay. He or she. Let's have the next print, please. And the caption: Hospital ward captured for builder as part of a completion for interior refurb. Had to be captured before handover and therefore without beds and additional equipment. And we have a score of 79. We are going to run out of badges if this keeps up. Okay, all those fence sitters. Let's have a comment from Laurie. You're on 78.
No, this is good professional practice, and the photographers captured what they've seen in the photograph. I think to lift it up to the next level is bring something more to the picture, bring the photographer to bring something else to the picture. So, good professional practice.
You had a quizzical look on your face, Bruce. Did you want to make a quick comment?
Yes, please. This is perfect for a hospital start of a hospital booth. It shouldn't have anything in it. This is what the rooms are like prior to the bed rolled in, and I think they've done a tremendous job. Photographers done a tremendous job to even get it symmetrical and make it work. So for me, it really adds depth and character, and I'm really enjoying it.
Okay. Well, we're accepting that score and going to our next print, please. The title: The Courtesan. The vintage courtesan image was styled to create a voyeuristic viewpoint to bring the viewer into the scene. The model looks off camera to imply another person entering the room. The viewer must decide if they want to be themselves or a mystery lover. And the print score is 78. Go on, Kev, do it. Do it, Kev, do it. We have a challenge. Kevin on 83.
Well, again, I'll challenge just to hear the comments. I think there's an awful lot to like about this image. The model expression, I think it fulfills that brief. I can see some elements that are not as, I think, people will probably complain about skin tones and highlights, and there's some elements in the background that don't quite marry up. But notwithstanding, I think it meets the brief, and it's a very strong image and certainly has a lot of impact, and I enjoyed it very much.
Thank you. Laurie, I might get you to have a word, or you happy for me to go to someone? Okay.
Yeah, look, I think with especially in the print awards, we're expecting to see the print at quality as well as the actual photography itself. So I take on board your comments, but I couldn't really get past the fact that a lot of the blacks in there are just fading and there's no detail in there at all. And there's something a bit funky going on with the curtains on the right-hand side as well. I couldn't work out why that was going on. So, yeah, I sort of struggled to take it up into an award for those reasons.
Thank you, Laurie. Any other judges like to comment, or I'll go back to Kevin? Okay, Kevin, bring it home.
I would have liked to have given it a silver distinction. I would have liked to have gone higher, so that those elements were stopping me from going to that next level up. But nevertheless, I think when you compare what's in there with the expression and the brief, and is it doing what it's doing, I think it's doing beyond that requirement and deserves the award.
Thank you, judges. Let's have a rescore. Print scores 79. Every point counts. Thank you, judges. Next print, please. Our caption. The client commissioned this image with the brief to represent this family in their home as crazy cat lovers. And the print scores 81. Silver award. Crazy cats. Okay. Yes, please. We would like a comment. Paul, you're on 78.
Yeah, they've done well to fill the brief, but I feel like there's room to take it further. There's so many other elements in this image, both through the books, the pictures, and so on, that could add a lot more narrative to that story and really move it up. So maybe consider that. I guess you're not going to reshoot it, but that's there. There's more breathing room to head in that direction.
Well, this is the thing. You may not be able to reshoot this, but it's food for thought for the next time. Thank you. Next print, please. Caption. A party scene at the ultra-crowded Cafe Florian in Venice during Carnivale. I can. A party scene at the ultra-crowded Cafe Florian in Venice during Carnivale. And the print scores 81, a silver award. Comment, please. Paul, 81.
Yeah, I enjoyed the slightly muted tones, the depth, the other characters that really give that a very believable context to where it is. Her almost porcelain-like face that's just sit there like a doll, like just wanting to be admired. That's supported by the body language as well. It's quite a beautiful image.
Yeah, lovely look on her face. Thank you. Next print, please. The caption, commissioned by the Australian Construction Review on behalf of the builder, photographed prior to completion and handover to client, being the New South Wales Service Office. And the score isn't 79, it's 83. Silver award. All the judges, yes, all the judges in the silver award range, please, Robin.
Beautiful representation of the architecture within this building. My only question is why shoot it with the orange truck coming through in the bottom? Maybe consider the purpose for that and either make it more prominent or remove it for appers. Thanks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're just discussing things like that, and you never know. You could be set up with the right lighting, and that truck pulls up, and you just think, "Hurry up and deliver your stuff." And then half an hour later, that truck's still there, and you think, "Yep, I'll have to Photoshop this out." Anyway, that's less of me, more of you judges. Let's go to the next print, please. And our caption: fashion image commissioned by designer Marietta and Evelyn Haddad for the 2019 Haute Couture range. And we have a score of 78. A pretty consistent scoring there, judges. Paul, you're on 78. Would you like to comment?
Yeah, I definitely put it really high on the scale of professional practice. There's probably not a lot better you could do to please the client. The way they have both the femininity and model present, but it's not interfering or moving away from the product itself. And the way they've lit it gives you all sorts of room and to breathe in to enjoy every single delicate feature of that product as well. And in that case, it's very successful in that regard.
Great. Thank you, Paul. Next print, please. Caption: part of a set of completion project images for a construction company. Print scores 82, silver award. Comment, please. Bruce, you're on 82.
I'm sure the client would be really happy with this image. I think they've handled the interior lighting really well, coupled with the external shadows, brought it out well, and I congratulate the photographer. Nice work.
I like that lead in with the road as well. Okay, next print, please. On the 28th of April 2019, I was commissioned to photograph these beautiful tents under the stars on behalf of Wildfest. The scope of the job was to promote overnight family glamping at Tidbinbilla Nature National Park, ACT. And we have a score of 82, a silver award. Comment, please.
Yeah, it's a very inviting picture to a particular or a potential tourist type of destination. So well done to the photographer for bringing us something quite exciting and interesting.
My sort of tent too. Yeah, a lot of judges nodding. Yes, we'll have that sort of tent. Yeah, so Wildfest, that's who to speak to. Let's have the next print, please. Caption reads, "The central open access to all levels of the building 32 Mann Street. A creative brief commissioned to photograph for the builder prior to handover to client New South Wales Service Office." Print scores 86, silver with distinction. Someone's enthusiastic there, Laurie. And let me tell you, we had 88, 87, 85, 88, and there was a lousy 84. That's right. Would you like to comment?
I think this is exactly what architecture. You know, the architect or whoever was commissioning the work would have expected to get a replica of what they've actually built or designed. But this is a photographer who's actually seen something and created something that's very interesting. Not only that, but they've also handled all those whites and the highlights and given it depth by the way they've actually constructed and brought this all together. It's absolutely gorgeous image. Well done.
Terrific. Thank you for those comments. Let's have the next print, please. Caption, "Firefighter Standing." Commissioned by Fire Brigade Employers Union, New South Wales, in support of their campaign for presumptive legislation for cancer-affected firefighters. The purpose of these images was intended to humanise firefighters. And we have a score of 79. But we're going to have a challenge? Nope. Yes. No. Yes. No. Yes.
I'm straight after that.
Yes. Paul on 85.
Well, I'm enjoying the really beautiful deliberateness of placement. You know, she's not overlapping the rescue word. You know, there's a standing written on the helmet, and there's a very strong presence of standing, both in the physicality of the character and the way the shadows extend that down. So it's very grounded in this image. She's given a dimensionality and a real presence. There's a real physicality in terms of both her engagement and the weight she's carrying. And that physicality, I guess, sort of leans back to that brief around cancer. You know, that's so much about physicality and where you stand and your strength. And there's a real boldness and strength, both in the way it's visualised and the way it's presented here. And there's lots of elements and depth of lines. You can explore contextually the other parts of her role her tools, how she moves, what's behind her, and what other skills and equipment she needs to perform her role.
Thank you, Paul. Let's have a word maybe from Robin. Would you like to? And then we might just go to Kevin.
There's a tremendous strength in the character here, and the photographer's really done a great job of finding that intensity in her face and her emotion. Unfortunately, the highlights are just all over the place and incredibly distracting. So in a commercial sense, you light what you need to see and you let everything else fall out. And here you've got the light just haphazardly coming through things and across things, and perhaps it's been shot very late in the afternoon or early evening. So you've got your moonlight coming in and those additional light sources. But I'd implore the photographer to really look at where your light is coming from and work with it so that the highlights are on this incredibly strong character as opposed to the light between her legs.
Thank you. Kevin, did you want a quick word?
A quick word. Yeah, I agree with those last comments. I mean, I struggled a little with where to place this in the scoring. I think it deserved the silver. I want to go a bit higher. I felt it's just a little bit too busy, and those bright highlights just found a little bit distracting.
Okay, if there's no other comments, we'll go back to you, Paul.
Yeah, it's 1 point over the line, team. If you feel like addressing, I think I did initially in a way, I felt like the deliberateness of the lighting adds to that narrative of the strength of the standing, the physicality of her presence, potentially the fight and overcoming of cancer. You know, she's found an inner strength to do that. And that extra shadowing extends her length and accentuates her physicality and her presence there. And even written on the helmet is the word standing. You know, I'm here, I'm very boldly present. The lighting has a complexity, but it also lights up all other elements of her role and allows you to explore that in a very present sort of way, not a hidden sort of way. You could argue that's distracting, but I see that as deliberately wanting to include that in the communication here. So I invite us to go at least 1 or 2 up a point.
Okay, judges, we have a score of 79, but let's rescore. Print scores 81, silver award. And we'll accept that score, and that's going to bring us to the end of commercial commissioned. We will now go into commercial, non-commissioned, self-commissioned, and I just got to bring up the next set. Bear with me. Okay, let me just hold for a moment. Can we just have a blank screen just for a minute, please? What I might do. Okay, so. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, all of those out there in live streaming land listening to us now do the commercial self-commission category. And I'm going to welcome to our judging panel, Kirsten Woodford. Thank you for joining us today, Kirsten. Round of applause. Okay. And we have David Oliver, we have Paul Holan, we have Laurie and Kevin Chamberlain. Okay. Let's have our first print, please. The caption, Destiny. This image was only possible to capture within a 2-hour window, once per year, when the intensity of the moon and the position of the Milky Way align perfectly. It took a total of 90 minutes to take the image. And we have a score of 82, Silver Award. You got it, Paul, 87.
Yeah, there's a wonderful level of mastery and framing using both man-made and natural features that are only present due to the skill level and the anticipation and the knowledge of subject matter that's alluded to in a description that's beautifully handled here. And when you go up close, you're so magnificently rewarded with a level of resolve that I almost feels impossible to produce in that kind of lighting. The back of the frame, even the tiniest tree that's quarter of a millimetre high has dimension and pop and holds you there and rewards you beautifully to go down the frame. And in terms of that narrative of destiny and movement, there's a mystery in that you're walked out of the frame and you don't quite know where it's going. And I really enjoy the complexity of that narrative and that added convincingness of it. So let's have a conversation, folks.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Laurie, you're on 77, if you want to have a little chat now. And then I might just go to Kirsten.
Yeah, look, I was enjoying all of that as well. And I guess for me, what was holding me back was the magenta in the sky that was somehow not sitting quite right in terms of technical finesse. But I'm listening. I'm really interested in hearing what everybody else has got to say.
Okay, Kirsten, are you happy to have a little chat? Thank you.
When I get up close and look at the right-hand side of the Milky Way, there's a section where the stars are all blurred, and then on the edge of the image, they become sharp again. So I don't know if that's a blending issue with images together, but otherwise, the little man in the middle walking down the road, I enjoyed that.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Would any other judge like to chat before I go back to Paul? No? Okay, Paul. You've got 4 judges in the 80s.
I saw that and that's why I didn't go gold. Simple as that. the expertise involved to create this image is exceptionally high, and it is a very, very narrow window, having danced in this field a little bit myself. And it's masterfully handled, and it beautifully supported by the brief, and very believable. And I think those hues sort of move it into a more of a dreamlike realm than a literal, which to me supports that narrative beautifully in terms of the magentas and tones and subdued elements of colour rather than really overtly literal or overly bright. There's a subconscious kind of element of underlying that's supported by the darkness. I'm an 87. Feel free to move on up.
Mm-hmm. Okay, judges, let's have a rescore. $84, silver award. Every point counts. Okay, next print, please. The caption: ceiling detail at 580 George Street, Sydney, shot as part of an architectural case study. Print scores by majority, 84, silver award. And as we know, you need to be 5 above that, which makes it 89 to challenge. And we have 2 judges on 88, so close that we still have a little comment, please. Laura, you're so keen.
Yeah, look, I just want to applaud the photographer for capturing this beautiful warmth in the timber, contrasting the aluminium, or it appears to be aluminium. So 2 very different products that are brought together so beautifully together, so technically well constructed. The print's gorgeous, and beautiful choice of paper as well for the print.
Mm-hmm.
So congratulations.
The one, Kevin? Yep.
I can only echo that. I just love the composition, the curves meeting into that beautifully positioned point. The treatment of how he's maintained the highlights and the colours is just superb. I wish I had gone to the 89.
Live and learn. This is the thing, judges. Be bold. You know, be bold. It's a fence-sitting one, I know. Anyway, thank you, judges. Let's go to the next print, please. The caption reads, "The Charles Perkins Centre at the University of Sydney." The caption again is, "The Charles Perkins Centre at the University of Sydney." Print scores 90, gold award. Now, before I accept that score, I just remind the judges that anyone who scores a print in the gold can challenge. Doesn't have to be 5 points off. So I'm just checking with you. If you're happy with 90, if you want more. Challenge. Okay, on 93, challenge Mallory.
Oh, God, this is This is art. You know, the photographer has captured somebody else's art piece and made it into their own art. It's making my heart pump because it's just everything about this just invigorates my imagination. I'm absolutely in awe of the technical aspect of this photograph, but what really, really does it for me is that I'm reading so much more that's not even got anything to do with this building, and it's just so intriguing, and it really makes me want to look at it for a very, very long time. The technical side of it is just way and beyond what you would expect from an architect type shot. Everything about this shot has been, the tones in this have been handled so beautifully, and it's so subtle and so soft yet so elegant. It's delicious in so many ways. Look, you know, if we can all perhaps bundle up together and give some more towards this photograph for the photographer, to really award the photographer for everything about this image that they've brought to us. This is architecture, this is art, this is beautiful.
Well, we have 3 judges in the gold range, so I'd like all 3 judges to have a little chat.
Yeah, it's a wonderful feeling to feel the naturalness of falling into that gold space so immediately, and to have the honour of sitting in that a little bit longer and see what more you can be revealed from that time. I love the way there's both a sense of static and movement at the same time. This flowing shape allows a transition into a more figurative interpretation beyond the literal. The first emotive response I had to this was a baby being held in the cradle of an arm. And I was like, oh, wait a minute, how did I even get that? And I come up close. And the mastery in terms of the handling of every single part of the full tonal range used here, and the subtlety of gradations of tones is very difficult to handle, and is handled well beyond professional practice. Love to hear more.
I wasn't surprised you asked for the title again. And Kevin?
I'm listening to everyone, what they're saying, and I'm enjoying it more as I hear people talk about it. It is an extremely difficult, technically difficult job to pull off, and it's done. You can imagine all sorts of things into it. I'd love it on my wall. I wish it was my work. It's not. I might encourage the photographer to think about a different choice of paper. I just think a gloss, a high gloss, just might have added to this. But I'm going to go up.
I believe the photographer's selling these a metre by 3/4 metre for $1,200. Okay. Would either of our negative Nellies like to have a word?
I sat back on 88. So, yeah, obviously I'm going into the gold. The only thing that did stop me going straight into gold was that third element that is just bright next to the highlight, right at the end of that journey. Oh, if that had been toned down to match the other 3 elements on the curve, God, that would have been perfection. I'm asking a lot, but...
It's new tubes.
But I'm going gold anyway.
Okay, I think we'll go back to Laurie for your right of reply. Anything more to say, Laurie?
This should be a gold distinction. Seriously, this is... There's the actual comment that you made about the harmony of it being a baby in a cradle is exactly how I felt about it. In fact, it's sort of more of a uterus for me. I don't know. Hey, I'm a mum. Gold distinction is where I'd like to see it go. Can I rescore?
No, you can't.
But I can't rescore, but you guys can.
Yes. The challenger's score is always locked in, and then we have our debate, and everybody else is able to either raise their score, reduce their score, or keep it exactly the same. But taking on board the comments that you've heard, can you please rescore? $93. I'm sure you can all see them on the board, and I think you can see them in live streaming, but I'm going to read them out anyway. 95, 93, 95, 94, and 90.
Oh, wonderful. Well done.
So, very well done. Okay, judges, just Deep breath. And we'll have our next print, please. And the caption, collaboration with dancer Cooper Terry, exploring streetwear and choreography. I can most certainly read it again. Collaboration with dancer Cooper Terry, exploring streetwear and choreography. And the print score's 77. So thank you, judges. Kevin, you're on 77. Quick comment, please.
Well, I like the concept very much, and I think it's working with the stated brief. The print looks a little flat to me. I think the photographer might explore the printing technique, and the highlights, I think, could be controlled a little better as well.
Great, thank you. And we're going to have a judge change and bring up our next print. So thank you, Kevin. Don't go too far away, of course, but we'll welcome back onto the judging panel, Matthew, and we will have the next print, please. Oh, what is it? V. Just spell it VAS. Yep. The caption is, this image was commissioned by Sydney Dogs and Cats Home to capture the personality of Beck, the ragdoll cat, to be used for her available for adoption photo and also for marketing and fundraising purposes. No worries. And the print score's 84, Silver Award. And a comment, please. Paul's got his hand up. He's keen to go. I'll take the first one who throws their hand up.
Treat yourself and come up close to this print outside. It's rare that I've seen an image so incredibly well handled in terms of detail and sharpness. The visceral quality of and the texture is just dimensional. It's incredible, and the way that it alludes to the what was it, the not ragamuffin, but the ragdoll by shooting it in a way that accentuates the width of that around and away from the body and the lightness of the lighting. Rather than a more shapely lighting, sort of gives it more of an open, friendly, engaging feel, which is what you want in terms of like trying to invite somebody to connect in a lighter, more emotional way. Amazing.
Thank you, Paul. Okay. Oh, yes. I mean, dogs are a bit more cooperative, cats not so much. Okay, terrific. Let's have the next print, please. And our caption, architectural detail featuring cast concrete panels and coloured metal cladding, used together on a commercial development, self-commissioned for my portfolio. And the print scores 87, silver with distinction. However, Paul's on 90, so we're going to have a little chat.
Pac-Man must be on lunch break is all I can say. I'm just waiting for him to just go munching through this image, which is so beautifully presented, both in its very, very subtle dimensionality and very connected and believable lighting from top right to bottom left. There's lots of interpretations. There's a very subtle nuance of dimensionality that's only present in just a few millimeters of the frame, sort of forward and back, which you can enjoy. You move around the frame naturally through the design and through the shape. You've got rewards everywhere you go on the frame. There's a beautiful balance through both curves and lines together. I really enjoy on the right-hand side that it's not just purely square. There's a little bit of extra line on the top. And you can dance around this and be present with this. You could spin it around 6 different ways and still enjoy it in every direction. The color palette works in a very dynamic and interesting sort of way. Love it to be gold.
Okay, Matthew's on 87, so first I might go to David on 83.
Yeah, I would have loved the left-hand panel to just disappear. When I take it away and just leave the one single concrete panel on the left, it gives a better balance with the green. The green is dominating, and yeah, I don't need that left-hand panel. I think the image ends there where the straight black line comes down with a white border, and then it would give that beautiful green building a little bit more dominance. And that's the only thing I looked at and questioned as to why those panels are there. And it's cut in half on that left-hand panel. So it doesn't, for me, it doesn't need to be there.
Mm-hmm. Just a matter of balance. However, Matthew, please.
So when it turned around initially, the two sides of the image just sit but pop against each other. When you stand up and get closer to it, those greys and that concrete on that left side could be a little bit brighter, have a little bit more intensity to them. I know they're concrete and they're meant to be grey, and they're maybe just a little bit too subdued compared to the really pop and poppy side of that lime that's there. For me, Paul, the other side, to have that tiny little bit of green box above that line, just I want either more of it or none of it. Finish those boxes square to complete that whole Pac-Man Rubik's Cube look of that image.
A little bit to work with, Paul, but give it a crack.
Almost pull that out of my hands. I feel like that's an element of the photography that's come into the frame. That would be the really obvious way to present it, and it's just this little nuance, because every element of this is so incredibly deliberate. So there's a purposefulness in its inclusion. I feel like if you cut that third off the corner on the left-hand side, it'd be out of balance, and you'd be asking, well, why even include that section at all? So it doesn't have that gentle mirroring, and it would just pull you over to the right-hand side and make you sort of want to tip over. I feel like that black line is needed to ground it and really match the blacks and balance on the right-hand side, which are present in the really blocky frames. I'm on gold. Feel free to join.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Paul. Judges, score is on 87. Please rescore. Print scores 89, silver with distinction. And as we know, at AIPP there would be a review. So very well done. Thank you, judges. And just hold that print for one moment, please. So I've accepted that score. Thank you. Next print, please.
So the caption, architectural detail shot of the University of Canberra Hospital.
And we have a score of 84, silver award. But we're going to take a challenge from Matthew on 90.
It's just such a perfect square, and there are so many elements going on in that. It's a perfectly balanced, side to side, top to bottom, diagonally, every which way in there. We're travelling down along that stairwell. If it's a stairwell, we're travelling back up and around it. It needs to come at least into a silver distinction range to reward the photographer for probably walking past and going, oh, wow, look at that. It's spectacular to look at.
Laurie on 78.
Look, I agree. It's very square. It's also got lots of different sort of angles that's been captured. However, I've put it in the professional practice purely because two things. Firstly, we've got the black and white that are really quite contrasting, and then we've got this very muted orange. But the thing that was really holding me back is in the blacks in the lower right-hand corner, there's these like white blobs in there, and you know there's an opportunity for the photographer to have picked that up and clean that up, because it's just very distracting. This is a very graphic picture that needs to be quite clean and quite conclusive, and there's errors in the editing in there that I just couldn't get past. So I couldn't put it any further than an award unless somebody can convince me otherwise.
Okay, thank you. Kirsten, please.
Just like to say ditto. I was going to say the same thing about it looks like a lens flare circle down the bottom that hasn't been,
Okay, and then Paul.
Matthew, I'd just like you to address the sense of balance in terms of the density. I feel like it's really heavily weighted, and I pulled down to this right-hand corner and I'm washed out of the frame at the top, and it's a bit skewed out of balance for me.
Matthew.
I can't find that I'm skewed out of balance. I'm looking at that nice deep side. It's not black. There's detail all the way through it. I missed perhaps the lens flare and that blobbing issue on that right-hand side. But it's not heavy. Like, we're not going to a dark shadow where there's nothing there. There's detail all the way through that side, and it's just got a nice balance right the way through it, from that bottom right corner diagonally up through, rising through that tone and that colour in there.
Okay, thank you, judges. Currently the print's on 84. Please rescore. You can go up, you can go down, you can remain where you are. Print scores 84 by majority. So the average was 85, but 84 by majority would go for review at AIPP. Thank you very much. Next print, please. And our title, Another World. A 100-second infrared capture of Canberra City taken from Mount Ainslie Lookout. And we have a score of 82, silver award. Comment? Thank you, Laurie.
I'd like to say, because I'm actually from Canberra, and this is a very, very common view, but I have never seen it like this, so I found it very interesting to see my own city in a very different way. So thank you to the photographer, and well done.
And thank you, Laurie. It is always one of those wonderful things. I mean, when you pick something topical like the Opera House, and you see it photographed in so many different ways, and how can, one building be photographed so differently? And this in particular, you don't actually get the 360 degrees that you can walk around the Opera House. That's pretty much, you're stuck up there. So well done to the photographer. And let's have the next print, please. Caption: the facade detail at Juguan Shopping Mall in Shanghai. Do you want me to spell it out? Would that help you? Juiguang. Shopping mall in Shanghai, shot as part of an architectural case study. We have a score of 87. Let me just, one moment there. We actually have an auto challenge that's come up on 77. So I will take your challenge, David. Bear in mind, note your score of 95. Yep. So I'll accept your challenge, David. And your score didn't come through, so when you do it, you'll have to rescore as well. Okay.
What are the scores? Just out of interest. Anyone with me, or am I on
Yes, you've got your 95 and Matthew's on 90. There's a 77, an 86 and an 85.
Okay, so a bit of work to do, but this is just beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. The lines of the timber texture on the right-hand side, just coming out of that top right corner, it's so delicate, and then it just moulds into the shadow side of the orange building, and the line coming down, it's just so spectacular. I just think this is a work of art that would hang in a gallery or on anybody's wall and would look superb. But it's the handling of the building and the softness and the subtleness of the light that has really worked. Obviously, probably maybe a cloudy or foggy day has helped, which we don't get on in Australia very often. But no, this is just superb. I'd love to hear some debate on this one.
Okay, thank you. We'll go to Laurie on 77 first.
Look, I'm glad you have challenged this, because I was actually challenged when I was scoring it, and I guess for me straight away that gold colour was beautiful and vibrant, and that orange was complementing it. But then what was holding me back was then the beautiful brightness and the vibrance was then sort of, I don't know, shadowed in some way by this pastel. So there wasn't a balance of complementary colours in there for me. If I was looking at it cropped, and I could see that the image would be more powerful if it was cropped. So that's where I was holding back. I would have loved to have seen it sort of cropped right to the edge of that orange, that bright orange, to just keep that vibrancy together. But I'm listening. Obviously, you guys have got more to say.
Hand the microphone over to Matthew. He's on 90.
Aside from colour and the colour palette, which has been addressed, for me the images and the attributes of the image are those two perfectly finished corners of it, diagonal and diagonal. They've been given to us to put right in the corner. the tone and the tone throughout it, and is that gold beautifully comes around. We've got a beautiful shadow, nice piece of light, a lovely shadow on that inside wall that's facing to us, and that big orange Rubik's cube that is sitting there that's got detail on each side of it. There's nothing in this image to not reward. I can't see it being stronger, being cropped. I think if it gets cropped, it's going to just constrain the image and squeeze it down to something that is not there.
Okay, I'm going to go back to you, David, because two other judges are in the just below the average. So best if you listen.
Yep. Well, it's all been said. I mean, what's the scoring? 87. I'd love to at least see this come into the gold category. So that would be awesome if we could move 3 points into the gold category.
Okay, judges, you've heard the comments. Please rescore. And David, you've got to re-enter your score. Print scores 90. Gold award. Excellent. Thank you, judges. Next print, please. And Matthew, I'm going to give you a break. Bruce, I might just give you a spin for a while here. Okay. What I'm going to do, judges, is I need to change the judges here, but I will read out the caption so you can get on with the job. Okay, so I will accept. I have accepted it. Okay, so we have the next print, please. And the title is, "The National Museum of Australia's Postmodern Architecture is rich in literal and abstract metaphors related to Indigenous Australia. The raised dimples on the exterior panels are braille messages. The entrance canopy in crimson is photographed as an architectural detailed shot." And we have a score of 87. Silver award, silver with distinction. Okay, so everyone's got their hands in the air. And both Laurie and Paul, you have 93. Okay, I'll take Paul on 93. Thank you, Paul.
Sadly, back me up, madam. Yeah, the first thing I thought when it came close is, I want a warm tone to match this beautiful rich, to give it, a sense of more grace and balance between each other. But then I looked into the narrative and thought, wait a minute, this is about braille. This is about a colourless world, and what a clear compliment and direct communication around that by the absence of colour through the rest of it, which speaks to another world. And we're talking about multiple layers of connotations, both as a braille element, but there's also a cultural element. And that hue is very indicative of that, and the combination of both angular and circular and flowing elements with a beautiful little delicate base of grey, just to ground the image on the right-hand side. You can pop this around dimensionally, you can move in and out, there's sort of almost Escher-like qualities to this, and it's presented in a very abstract way, which wouldn't be there with a figure or a person. It's less literal and a little bit more figurative by that deliberate choice. Let's have a conversation.
Okay, David, would you like to comment on 82 or pass the baton? Or Kirsten, either one of you, if you'd like.
I'm happy to keep listening.
Okay, well, why don't we go to Laurie then on 93 as well?
Again, this is a Canberra place, and I'm excited by the fact that somebody has captured this very, very popular part of this particular building and made it something else for me. This is the 1956 Vogue cover. It was a illustrative picture of an eye and a set of red lips, and that was it. And this photograph is, for me, revisiting that particular iconic design piece. That red, the set of lips are just gorgeous. It's just deliciously put together. I'm actually going to be aiming and looking for some support to bring this up to a gold distinction. I think we've actually let it down by just looking for a gold. It's a gold distinction. It's everything about this image is unique. It's well executed. It's printed sublimely. The colours in this are just rich and luscious.
Okay, I think we'll go back to Paul. No other comments? Thank you.
Enough said.
Okay, that's what I like. Great debate. Okay, judges, we have a score currently of 87. I see a 9 and I see a 2. Gold award. Brilliant. But let's move on. Next print, please. And the caption, a view through a light installation in the Aria Hotel in Las Vegas. $84, silver award. Two 283s and 84 and 285s. Very, very close judging there. And a quick comment, please. I might get one from you, David, because I'm about to give you a break.
I need to go somewhere.
You do have to go somewhere.
Yeah, I do enjoy this image. I guess it's the cold colours that stopped me going any higher than 85, and the heavy blacks into the corners. If that had been a little bit more even, I think it would have scored highly. But well seen, well captured, and great print.
Great, thank you very much, David. You're needed for category category PP wide. You know what I mean? Yeah. So if you could find Robin, that would be fantastic. And what I'm going to do is bring on Matthew back onto the panel, please. So just bear with me. I'll do the grudges change right now before I have to read out the next caption. And we'll have the next print, please. And the caption, architectural detail of a recently completed data center. This features corporate colors as used on all three of the company's data centers. Uses include promotional material for architect, builder, or data center. May also be used as part of an architectural art project. And the print scores 86, silver with distinction. Yes, Laurie, 92. I'm accepting your challenge.
I don't even know where to start with this. My heart's pumping, and I'm feeling really, really quite warm. It's the simplicity in this that's exciting me. It's very simple, and everything about this image is accurate and precise and finessed to the point that it's just. That's it. I'm lost for words. That little bit of yellow in there is just what makes this picture to that next level. It's really just made it intriguing in so many ways to me. I would love to hear what you guys are all thinking, because I've put it at 92. I've given it a gold.
Okay,
Where am I sitting?
Kirsten, let's have a word.
Can someone help me with the fence post? The fourth. Yeah, the fourth post hasn't been. It's not the same. I don't know if it's deliberate or it's done there to give us a little cherry to look at. It's cute though, and the detail's beautiful.
Okay, Paul on 88.
Yeah, very supportive. What an incredibly beautifully illustrative interpretation in a very flat dimension of quite a three-dimensional object. The first thing I felt is it's such a wonderful reward when you go up close, and if you see that spot of yellow, it's actually these beautiful, delicate, refined fissures. And to me, is that like representative of the filaments in a computer that transfer the information, which is what this brief is about. I feel like the fencing just gives us something to walk over into the image, which would otherwise just maybe be a bit too indistinct. And there's a beautiful, subtle handling of gradation of tone just below to give it just this tiny pop of dimension in an otherwise quite two-dimensional representation. Let's keep chatting.
Okay, I think I might go back to Laurie, because it's good for the other judges to have a listen to the...
Yeah, what about that little fence post? What is that? Why is it there? Exactly. Let's just keep on looking at this image. That's what it's there for. Keep on looking at the image. Keep on being interested in what's going on. And that's what's so exciting about it. It's a very, very simple image, but it's really refined and it's got interest in it.
Sorry, Matthew, we've already gone back and come back, so... No, too late. Too slow. Got to be quick. Put that hand up. Okay. Currently, the print is on 86. Let's please rescore. Print scores 89. Silver with distinction. I'm sure someone can let you know this afternoon. Are they in the room still? Okay. Let's eyes forward and next print, please. Our caption: looking good is about being active, strong and sexy. Therefore, I shot this image with a publication like Women's Health magazine in mind. And we have a score of 75. So unless we have a challenge, there's a 70, a 70, 76 and 77, Bruce. Okay. Challenge from Bruce on 82.
This image works for the intended purpose. It gives strength for the woman. It looks like she's working hard. The water droplets all over her feel like she's really putting something into that effort. And I think the image works with that red in that background, gives sort of blood pressure. We are really working this, and I think that is perfectly suited for the work that the photographer wanted this image to portray.
Thank you. Matthew?
I've put this in professional practice, and I put it in professional practice because it's well executed. It's sharp on one side of the face and across, but there's shadows a little bit too deep. The hair's tousled and a bit messy for a fitness photo. We're a bit constrained and squeezed on the bottom. If she's working out, then we can't really see her arm working out. We can't see the bottom of her working out. You just see this little dumbbell coming up. So it's a good professional practice image. It's just not in the award range.
Mm-hmm. If there's no other comments, I'll go back to Bruce.
I think if this person was working this hard, that hair would be like that. It's got to look disheveled. She's working hard. Perhaps a little more information from her bodily might give it another level, but I've put it in the silver range, and I really think it should stay there.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Judges, if you'd like to rescore, please. That's locked in. And the print goes up to 76. So thank you. And thank you, Paul, for your efforts. If you could report to Robin, that would be very much appreciated. I'm just going to do our judge change. Kevin, welcome back to the panel. And we'll have the next print, please. And the caption. While shooting corporate portraits, I noticed the unique set of external fire stairs in the Sydney CBD. With passion for architecture, I couldn't shooting some images for my portfolio. I think they've missed a word out here. And the print score is 79. So thank you. And a comment. We just threw you straight in there, didn't we, Kevin? But you're on 77.
It's a very enjoyable image and certainly very professional. The photographer's done, I think, pretty much everything right. Just not enough in this one to take it to an award level.
Okay. Thank you. Next print, please. This image of a death adder was commissioned by Sydney Wildlife as part of a series to promote both the beauty of snakes and the work they do in rescuing and rehabilitating Australian wildlife. And the score is 82, silver award. Kirsten, you're an 82. Would you like to comment?
Looks like a very happy fat snake. Beautiful shot above. Well done.
Thank you. Okay, let's have the next print, please. And our title, Facade Detail Shot as part of an architectural case study of the National Aquarium in Denmark in Copenhagen. And we have a score of 84, a silver award. Pretty consistent scoring there too, judges. Who would like to comment? Thank you, Kirsten.
I love the little cherry, the plane. A little bit more detail in the plane. The blacks were really black. Couldn't see underneath it, but it's a beautiful, beautiful architectural image.
Yeah, it looks like an amazing building, doesn't it? The National Aquarium, Denmark. Okay, let's have the next print, please. The National Gallery of Australia used reinforced brushed... I'll start that again. The National Gallery of Australia used reinforced bush-hammered concrete in its geometric build. There is a sense of harmony in the reoccurring shapes and patterns used. This photograph captures the architectural detail used to create a sense of monumentality. And the print score's 81, silver award. Laurie.
In the microphone. But this definitely deserves a little chat because straight away the tones that have been amplified in this particular image, I can see the full range of tones in here. It's an Ansel Adams design in the way that it's actually been crafted with those tones. Once again, you know, this is a building that's been photographed so many times, and yet somebody's found something about this image, this particular building, and given it a whole different dimension, seen it in a very, very different way, and amplified it with that monumental, what was the word that they used? The
monumentality.
Monumentality, which I don't know, I've never heard that word before, but it certainly gave, there's actually a lot of strength. You can feel the concrete in it, and if you go and have a look really closely, because I'm looking in there trying to find, you know, what's wrong with it, and I couldn't find anything wrong with it. Right down to the bottom, in that bottom right-hand corner, those blacks in there have still got detail in them. And the choice of paper has just enhanced it even more. So there's so much luster in this that, you know, silver distinction's where I've put it. Let's hear some comments.
Okay, Kevin, you're on 77.
There is a lot to like about this image. I love the top diagonal left. I don't like the bottom diagonal left. I think, to me, is a little bit too blocked. There is detail in there, but I think that it's a little too blocked, and it takes away from some of the texture of the concrete. And I wonder if a different lens choice or a different there seems to be a little wasted space on. So I'd like to see the avenue with all the detail just brought forward more. So a bit more detail there. But a very strong image.
Okay. Laurie, your right of reply. $81.
81. Okay. Oh wow. I really didn't. I didn't get any comments there about where that it shouldn't be in this silver distinction. That's where I'm struggling to get you guys to see what I'm seeing. I guess, strong silver at least. If you were not going to come up to silver distinction, strong silver, guys.
Okay, we have a score of 81. Please rescore, judges. We have a score of 83. Very solid silver. And we just hold that for one moment. Going through my... And we'll have the next print, please. And our caption is, aerial view of a recently completed solar farm. The owners have continued with the clean and green theme of solar farms by using a flock of sheep to help keep the grass and weeds under control. Self-commissioned for my portfolio. And we have a score of 83, silver award. Mr. Oliver on 93.
Yeah, absolutely. This is just absolutely stunning. The tonal range is just beautiful, from the highlights through to the shadows. And, we've got this human element of the solar panels, but the sheep just wandering through just makes this picture for me. It takes it to a different league. And all the detail, you can see the sheep, they're just wandering amongst this solar farm, and it's come sheep farm. And it's just a mixture. The story behind that needs to be told. And I just love it. I love the composition. I love where the highlights are. And it's just beautiful, working from each corner, the elements of the road constructed through and ending in the bottom corner. It's just all there. So let's have some debate on this one.
Okay, well, we have 3 judges on 82, and we have Kevin on 78. So, Kevin, would you like to comment, please?
I'm not sure what to say. This image was very professional, and I certainly scored it in the high professional range. I'm not sure what the photographer brought to that. It's a good composition. I think that it could have been interpreted other ways as well. I take the point about the sheep. That does add story, and I think I will probably give that more consideration. But I can't see it going into the gold range, that's for sure.
As I said, we have 3 judges on 82. Do any of you want to comment, just to give David a bit of ammunition to argue?
I should have asked for the score.
I told you anyway.
So I've put it in the silver range, and I've put it in the silver range because I appreciate the composition and how difficult it is to make an aerial composition. The sheep are cute wandering in through there. It gives us some context of size and dimension and of the space. The only reason I'm staying in that, or I've scored in that silver and that silver range, is because we're finished beautifully in that top right with one of those solar panels hitting right in in the exact corner, but that road meandering to the bottom left could have finished in a similar diagonal, and it would have just strengthened that diagonal shape of that image up and lifted that composition.
Bearing in mind the solar panels are rigid and the road's not. So, David, you're right of reply?
I think that's the quirky nature of this image, though. And I mean, it's not all perfect. To have sheep wandering through a solar farm is not perfect. I wouldn't have thought that would even happen, but what a great idea to keep the grass down. And I just love that texture. You know, the detail in the blacks and the detail in the shadows. The tonal range is very monotonal. It's very subtle. So let's see what we can come up with this one. At least get it in the silver distinction.
Okay, we're currently on 83, but let's have a rescore. David, I might get you to put your score back in because there was several challenges there, and I think there was one in the negative that beat you. We now have a score of 86, silver with distinction. Thank you, judges. Next print, please. Caption: after midnight is the best time to take a clean, circular star trail without aeroplanes passing. This image is made out of 17 times 10-minute exposures, totaling 3 hours of capture. The shooting star in the top right-hand corner was an added bonus. And we have a score of 83, silver award. And a comment, please. Thank you, Matthew.
Potentially the only thing to improve in the image is there is a little bit of noise coming through in that mountain on the left-hand side and through that foreground. The rest of the image is captured well, it's envisioned well, and the little bonus of the shooting star disrupting that nice sphere and pattern is lovely.
Right, thank you. And on that, Matthew, I'm going to give you a break. And Paul, would you like to jump in, please? The caption: this image was 3 out of a series of images that I collaborated with jewellery label, makeup artist and model. We created 3 makeup looks to complement with 3 sets of jewellery collections. What are we waiting on? Waiting on the computer. Okay, score of 76. Thank you. And a comment. Paul, you just jumped on.
Yeah, I enjoy the diagonal flow in this. I wonder if you get more dimensionality with more deliberate use of lighting or colour or other elements of the water, just to give it a little bit more context and more emotion, to add to just the commercial element.
Thank you, Paul. Next print, please. And our caption, layered details from the Crystals Shopping Centre in Las Vegas. Layered details from the Crystals Shopping Centre in Las Vegas. Help you, Jonathan, was a Printer scored 83. Silver award. Thank you, Paul. Challenge on 93.
Oh, let's have a chat, please. I don't even know how you can create such a sense of angular flow and airiness through a solid object. I get no obvious sense of dimensionality or forward and back. I get the sense that I can puff my way in air or just blow through this entire scene, because it almost looks like it's a granular wire structure. So I can move in beautiful ways. What a delightful use of shadow and very subtle gradations of warmth and hue that add a different emotive quality, particularly on the right hand side, that would be otherwise just cool and a little bit less arresting. Very unusual composition. The sense of curve and lines run beautifully through to the corners on the right hand side. There's a certain angularity. There's other illusions. Well, that's the word. It's alluding to other things through a sense of reflection perhaps as well. And you can just dance around and move through this in all sorts of ways. And it's not that square. It's not clear. It's not clearly delineated in just a boxed up structure. It's a little bit asymmetrical. It's a little bit skewed off to the side. And I enjoy that tension and the mystery of why it's been framed and presented to us in that way. And the print quality is unbelievable.
Thank you, Paul. Okay. Kevin and Bruce, about the same scores. Thank you, Bruce, on 78.
I'm listening to you, Paul, but the palette, the colour, I want more out of that. I want it to be more dynamic. I want it to reflect the texture and the image. That's what I was looking for, and that's why I scored it at a high professional level, but not into an award. I'm listening, but I need to hear more to get there.
Okay, Laurie.
So I'm coming
Enlighten.
to back you up, because I came in with a silver distinction on this, and this is one of those images where it's not necessarily the image when you go up close to it. This is the sort of commercial image that you would have on a billboard and view it from way back, because you get that real sense of layering and a place within this layer, and you get a sense of softness yet harshness as well. And I think it's more of the graphic sort of story of this image that makes it so strong too, because we're not looking at it being straight lines and defined and quite sharp and all those other things, but it's actually the opposite that makes this so much stronger.
Great, thank you. And we'll go back to Paul. Paul, thank you.
Bruce, when I went up closer, I looked at that tonal range, and if you look at the highlights and you look at the deepest blacks, they're really pushing the edges of that tonal range. You couldn't really go much further. So I'm not a little bit unsure about what you mean about not using the most of that tonality. It's all stretched all the way through the frame. I don't know how you can interpret something dimensional and clear in a way that is so obscure and oblique and unclear in terms of its physicality and both flow and structure and linear and curves all at the same time. And that clever use of colour with the warmth of the blue and that opposition between the two just gives you different emotive qualities to move through and dance around the frame with colour, as well as the form and lines that lead you around. And I just love the asymmetry and the mysteriousness of what we're actually being presented with. It's as much figurative as it is literal. And in that regard, I think it's incredibly masterfully presented to us, and I'm in gold.
Okay, judges, if we could please rescore. Current score is 83. Paul, I'll get you to re-enter your score because there was a couple of challenges there, and I think one was in the negative that gazumped yours. That's better. We have 86 silver with distinction. Excellent. Next print, please. And the title, Tower at the Start of the Hungapu Riverside Trail, shot as part of an architectural case study of the East Bund redevelopment in Shanghai. And the print scores 89. Okay, you want to fight it out, gents? I'm going to give it to Paul on 94.
Go team. Well, I don't think anybody who went up close to this image could deny that this isn't a presentation by an absolute master of their craft. Every single pixel in this frame has a deliberateness and a precision and a grace and a flow and a balance and a sense of design and placement just rippling through every millimeter of the frame. But what I particularly enjoy, I enjoy this beautiful flow from these lines down the right-hand side, and it brings us down into the bottom left, and there's this delicate emergence of the structure with these subtle muted tones. The way the tonality is handled through the bridge, it's almost physically impossible that evenness of tonality was there in terms of the actual deliberate lighting, but they've presented to it in a way that shows such a masterful handling of tonality all the way through. The handling of the sharpness on this print is just superlative. I don't know if it's physically possible to present it any better. What I also enjoy is there's a linear nature and a perfection and a grid-like structure to everything except the central structure. It actually has an inorganic, almost bulbous kind of semi-organic kind of feel, which sets it apart a little bit more from how linear everything else is in the frame. I also love it. He could have presented us with this perfect sky, but actually there's just a hint of cloud and a hint of organic sort of element. And that gradation to the corner is masterful and very difficult to handle. Gold, please.
Thank you, Paul. And we may go to Kevin for a comment, but then we'll go to David, who's also in the gold range.
Yeah, I'm going to go up. I think I have treated this one a bit hard. I was just concerned there wasn't enough in the actual object itself that was being photographed, but there's no doubt what you're saying. It is masterful print when you get up and have a look at it, and that needs to be rewarded. But the more I look at what is presented, there is a lot there, and I think I've underestimated it, and I'll be definitely moving up.
Okay, We'll go to David, who's on 93.
I think Paul summed it up beautifully. I just was blown away as soon as I saw this image. I was thinking high gold. The angles on the right-hand side that connect with the subtleness of the support on the bridge on the left is just beautiful. But what I did love is the building in the middle, the rust, the texture, it's not straight, it's soft, it's rounded in curvature on some of those supports, and it's not perfect, which is just brilliant. It just works brilliantly. Wow. Imagine finding this. It's a work of art. Beautiful.
Terrific. And Paul, do you need to write a reply?
Gold, please.
That's it. Okay. Judges, you make up your own mind. Let's have a rescore. Every judge has got a 9 in front. 93, Gold Award. Thank you for that, Paul. I believe you're required once again. So I'm going to give you a... Did they? Oh, well, they came again. And I'm going to do a judge change. And Gavin, can you jump into position number 4? And next print, please. And the caption: Aviation House was completed in 2007 and has been leaking for some time. As part of the remediation work, the building was reclad. This photo was taken at the end of the recladding. It could be used as marketing material for the product manufacturer, supplier, or builder. And we have by majority 84, Silver Award. That was close. Let's have a comment, please. Thank you, Bruce.
Beautiful symmetry, exquisite colour palette, and very well handled. Beautiful print and extremely sharp. So I commend the photographer. It's really, really a nice image. Thank you.
Thank you. Gavin, you were at 82. Just want to make a quick comment?
Yeah, it's beautifully seen and it's beautifully structured. For me, it was just it was almost too over processed that it became very flat and kind of lost the reality a little bit. Yeah, no, it's a great, lovely, symmetrical image.
Great, thank you. And we'll have the next print, please. And our caption: Architectural features of a building for use by the photographer for advertising material. Laurie, yours hasn't come through. Print scores 80, Silver Award. Bruce, you're on the average.
Black's handled really well, beautiful tones right through, and the gold works extremely well to enhance the spotlights all the way through. So well done, congratulations.
Excellent, thank you. Sure, quick one.
Yeah, I just think on a print like this, the opportunity to clean up some of the things, that just some of the little lights in there could just be tidied up, I think would actually lift it and make it go higher. It's just, and there's a little bit of cloud detail in one of the windows. That could all be cleaned up so it becomes much smarter.
Thank you, Gavin. Let's have the next print, please. Architectural detail shot capturing the natural world contained within the modern, ever-expanding rise of corporate and residential construction. And we have a score of 84, silver award. And I'm pressing that green button, David, on 92.
Am I the only one?
Yep. But you got don't let that deter you.
I know.
They could all be wrong.
They could be. Mind you, so could I. It wasn't until I stepped back and looked at it from a few metres that I really sort of fell in love with this because of the subtleness of this image. And when I went in close, I was sort of disappointed with the softness of the shadow. And then I'm thinking, well, we don't always have to go in and look at an image really, really close. And when you step back from it, it's just superb. The little bush in the foreground just makes it for me. The picket fence, it's sort of like suburbia meets this these amazing buildings. So, I'd love to see a little bit more debate on this, and hopefully take it up a little bit higher.
Okay. Laurie, would you like to comment on 80?
Yeah, I really enjoyed this one as well. But I think for me, I would have liked the simplicity to remain simple. It felt a little bit too busy. There was too much going on, and it took away from the actual simplicity of what it is, that little contrast of nature versus man-made structure. And that would have pushed it up a little bit higher for me, but I've put it in the silver range and love to hear some more comments.
Okay. Would anyone else like to comment? Give David a bit more information to argue. Gavin, you're an 85.
Yeah, I'd put it in silver distinction. I think it's lovely, the organic nature surrounded by very kind of hard angular lines is beautiful, and the way that shadow almost points down towards the bit of nature there. It would be great if there were a few more leaves on the tree, perhaps. But I think it's a great shot. So I'm there in silver distinction. I'm not sure if I'll come up to gold though.
Well, David, bring it home.
Well, I'm sort of happy I'm there on my own, but I'm happy for it to come up into the silver distinction range at least. I think it deserves that at least. It's just a beautiful scene and well-found image. I like the fact that some of the leaves have fallen off.
It is autumn. Well, was. Okay, let's have a rescore, please, judges. 87, silver with distinction. Okay, next print, please. The caption, the Abercrombie Building at the University of Sydney. We have a score by a majority of 84, silver award. But wait, Mr. Pottinger on 93, you're not getting away with this.
Where are you going? Come on, this is exquisite. That timber work has been handled so extremely well. It's like you can touch it, you can feel it. It's French polished. It's just perfect. They've handled the tones in the timber work extremely well. That working with the white, which is beautifully held together, there's detail through that white, it's not blocked out at all, and those mid-tones just make it happen. For me, this is a beautiful gold image, and I really ask you to come up. How am I going with the numbers here? Do I need a lot of work?
A little. But there's an 86 and an 84. So let's hear from the 82s and all three. Laurie, you've got the microphone.
Yeah, I totally agree with you with that timber. It's just glorious. And the white on the other side is really well balanced, and then it starts to fall apart for me a little bit towards the bottom. There's this cyan tone that sort of comes in that bottom right corner that I don't know where that's come from and why is it there and why is it mucking up with that white for me. It's making me upset. So yeah, I've put it in the silver range. So I think we need to reward the photographer really handling that timber as beautifully and warm as they have.
Gavin, would you like to comment, please?
Yeah, I agree. The timber is beautiful. It's the whites where I have the problem. I've scored it, silver, just into silver distinction. But to take it up to gold, those whites would all, should be much more even and much cleaner. The different hues in there, the different colours in there are kind of really distracting from it, and they could just all be pulled out.
Okay. Bruce, you're right of reply.
I see what you're saying, but I believe that is part of the reflection from the work that has gone on in the timber. That's a tone that's come through from the warmth and the greys and the colour. That adds to it. That it's not just white. It's blending through. It's pulling all the reflections from that amazing timber, and it's reflecting into those whites. And I think that's pulling it down, pulling those whites into what they should be, going into greys and going into some colour. I think it's superb, and I'm listening to you, but I really feel that's part of the reflection.
Yes, and the white will absorb whatever's reflecting off it. But let's have a rescore. Currently the score is 84. Bruce, you're locked in. That's better. 87, silver with distinction. Yep. Well, before it was 86, but it was 84 by majority. So, well done, judges. Let's have the next print, please. And the caption? Architectural capture featuring the concrete panel detail of a building in Melbourne's South Bank for promotional purposes. we have a score of, guess what? 79. I tell you what, we started on a 79 and we finished on a 79, but we had a bucket load of golds and silvers with distinctions in between. So it's still very well done, and I would still like to have a comment, please. Thank you, David.
An interesting picture, but you know, the one thing holding it back is it's pretty obvious, I think, for everyone is the sky, and either blue or cloudy would have worked, and it would have isolated that building, and it would have jumped out against a neutral tone.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Gavin, if you say it into the mic, so the
Sorry, I was just again, it's a commercial shot. You can clean it all up. There's just streaks in the concrete, and just some little bits and pieces, and they just detract from what would be a really nice graphic image.
Right, very good. Okay, judges, I believe that was the last print. Now, before you go anywhere, can I just call Debbie and Justin and Jody out here, please? Our print handlers. Where's your mates? Come on. Just Debbie. And don't forget, the guys here have been sitting here all day. I've had breaks, but Paul, Greg, and sorry, Neil have been here all day. So thank you very, very much for that. Great effort, guys. Thank you, judges, for your efforts today. And don't forget, tomorrow morning we'll have a briefing at 8 o'clock and ready to rock and roll and get stuck into it. So thanks again. And don't forget to get out there and support our suppliers, all those sponsors of the AIPP who we've had today, Aon and CR Kennedy's and Camera House and Sony, and of course Epson, a fantastic overall sponsor of our state awards. Thank you.